Is that okay, Rabbi?
Fine with me. It's a new one.
It is. Perfect. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. You need to be.
What? This is the air.
Huh?
Air.
First one, we're in the chairs there.
This is
Empty chair there.
There's a chair here.
it looks like a box.
Type of window sill.
The window sills are good because the chair right there.
Yeah, Johnny's coming.
Yeah, oh,
He's called it. Yeah. Sure, take the chair there.
Room for three on the window
Grab that
sills.
chair and go over the window area.
walking on with power.
Here. You don't want to grab that chair? Bring it here. There's room over
Okay.
here. Alright.
There's something.
Want it?
If we talk about leadership, our first role model of leadership is Moshe Rabbeinu. What is the trait that the Torah expresses of Moshe Rabbeinu? Aish Moshe Onov. He is the most humble of all human beings on the face of the earth. The pasuk says. So yeah, it's something of a joke. Moshe Rabbeinu wrote this down. If he didn't believe it, then he was a kofar b'Torah's Moshe. He was an Abikaris because he didn't believe in the Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu. So we have to, I guess we have to define anava, what is true humility. Humility has nothing to do with being unaware of one's strengths. The Mishnah at the end of Sota says, Mishemes, who was it? Shemes Rebbe. Yeah. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, when he passed away, Botla Anova. Anova stopped. So one of the Tanoim then says in the Mishnah, no, don't say that. I'm here. No, I'm here. He's saying that he's an Anav. So you can know that you're humble and still be humble. So first, just in general terms, it's something of a detour, but I don't want to spend too much time on it, but you've got to know this. Being innocent, naive, in Judaism we don't respect that. We don't respect that. That came from a different religion. You gotta be sharp. Judaism is about using your brains. If someone's naive, to us, that takes away from his greatness. So humility does not mean an unawareness of one's own strengths. What is humility? Without question, the encounters that we find in the Torah that best express Moshe Rabbeinu's humility are with regard to those days that Hashem and Moshe Rabbeinu were arguing out. Hashem sends him to Paro, and Moshe Rabbeinu says, "Not me." So, you could have claimed that Moshe Rabbeinu, was afraid and he'd rather someone else take the risk. But that's not so. We find when he came to it, he was afraid of no one. He honestly believed that he wasn't the man for the job. He thought that others could do better. So there are two parts to this, and let's deal with each one of them, because both are essential aspects of being humble. Ramban is the one that spells it out, and he says Moshe Rabbeinu thought he was of all of the Jewish people, he was the person that was least fit to be the representative of the Jewish nation, to be the leader. Why is that? Why is that? The Alter of Navardok was one of the great Baalei Musar. He says that Moshe Rabbeinu, first and foremost, saw the greatness in every Jew. Every Jew he met, he saw the person's strengths. He saw greatness in everyone. He knew the potential of every Jew. Remember, he was a prophet, but he was able to see the greatness in every single Jew. What about their shortcomings? We know in the laws of Lashon Hara, it's not just a matter of not speaking negatively about others. Really, it's about training yourself to focus on the positive, not the negative. The classic that we find in the Chovos HaLevavos, Shari Tshuva, about the wise man that was walking with his students, and they come across the body of a dead dog, and the students say, "What a foul odor it's got! Kama masrachas nevelazo." And he answers, "Avol kama levono shineho." Look how white its teeth are. What catches his eye? The white teeth. What catches them? Oh, there's odor. Moshe Rabbeinu saw the strengths of everybody else. How about himself? He saw his strengths too. But you don't hide from your own weaknesses. Moshe Rabbeinu was building himself. He was aware of all of his shortcomings. So he saw the greatness in everybody else. And with himself, he saw both the greatness as well as the shortcomings. So he ended up on the bottom. He saw himself as least fit to really be the leader. That's one. In other words, humility is allowing yourself to see the strengths in others, which, generally speaking, because of our own lack of self-confidence, because we have a hard time believing in ourselves, we're afraid to be open to the strengths of others. But we feel like all of life is something of a competition. We're competing for everything. We're competing for the air. Everybody else is inhaling my air and exhaling carbon dioxide. Every bit of success another person has, that's at my expense. Humility is the attitude that I can see your strengths, I can see your greatness, I can be happy for you. It doesn't take away from me. I can see your greatness and even see strengths in you that I don't see in myself. So that's the first part. And it takes a lot of work. You can't be a leader when you don't believe in the people around you. See, we're going to see time and again that leadership doesn't mean you're there at the front calling all the shots. You're the somebody and everybody else is nobody. That is not leadership. Leadership is empowering others. You can't possibly empower others if you don't see their strengths. You've got to believe in them. You have to allow yourself to. You have to rejoice in their success. You have to allow yourself to do that. Now, coming off that, there's a second side. They go together very well. From this entire encounter with Hashem, where Hashem's telling him to go to Paro, and he says, no, let someone else do it. One thing's very clear. Moshe Rabbeinu has no personal ambition. He has no personal ambition whatsoever. Why is it? Power corrupts. Why is it that so many people who find themselves in leadership positions think sour? How come? Because it's about them. If you want to be a leader in Klal Yisrael, it's not personal ambition. It's about the cause. And if someone else will get the credit, that's fine. I'm doing it because it has to get done. I'm not doing it because this is an opportunity for me to become famous. Personal ambition is a killer. First of all, because when you make decisions, your decisions are definitely affected by that need for your own success, often at the expense of what it is that you're trying to accomplish. One of the greatest fallacies of democracy is that even leaders who believe in something have to compromise on them because they want to be elected. And in practice, they must do what's popular. Very often, what's popular is not right. A leader who's sort of handcuffed, where he's got to go and follow the will of the majority because he wants to be reelected, that's not a leader. That's not a leader. It's got to be that he has absolutely no personal ambition. And if he'll be out of a job in a couple of years, okay. But for now, he's got to do what's right. Because it's about getting it done. It's not about him. The Gemara in Sota describes what it's going to be like before Mashiach comes. And it says there, one of the things, Pnei Hador, the face of the generation, Kipnei Kelev, will be like the face of a dog. What does that mean? Rav Chanan Wasserman in his Sefer Ikvaseh de Mashiach, the Epic of Mashiach, he says that a dog is a very interesting animal. When you lead your dog, he runs out ahead of you. A bystander would look, and it would look as if your dog is leading you. What does a dog keep doing? He keeps turning around to see what direction his owner is going in. He says, Pnei Hador, the face of the generation, means the leadership. Kipnei Kelev, they will be a leadership like dogs are leaders. They're going to be leading the nation, but really they're just turning around to see what people want. And that's really what democracy does. You end up standing for something popular so that you'll be elected. That's when there's personal ambition. Moshe Rabbeinu is all about the cause. Let it be somebody else. I don't need this. I don't need to be famous. Moshe Rabbeinu is also referred to in the Chumash as Eved Hashem. He's a servant of Hashem. What does it mean he's a servant of Hashem? That's the cause. That's the cause. What is the alternative to be a servant of Hashem? You're trying to serve yourself. It's no personal ambition. It seems that in this day and age, everywhere, who are the leaders? Ambitious people. I remember we had a student today many years ago. He came in, good-looking, confident guy. I am going to be a U.S. Senator. That was his thing. I am going to be a senator. Why? Because I want to be a senator. What do you believe in? I'm going to be a U.S. senator. Changed his mind. Actually, at this point, he's retired and sitting and learning. And he never ran for the Senate. Ambition and personal ambition are two different things. Ambition means there's something that you want to get done in this world. Personal ambition is you want to be famous. Brisker Rav is quoted as having said about certain leaders, that they will have all of their constituents killed out just for the sake of them being called Oskim b'tzorchei tzibur be'emunah, that they did for the public good. In other words, they want to be called those who do for the public good, not for the sake of the public, but for the sake of themselves. So we're not here to knock politicians, but within yourself. If when we talk about leadership, something inside you lights up because you like the idea of seeing your name in different places. You want to go down in history as something. No, it's not for you. It's not what leadership is. It's not what it's about. It's the cause. Pasuk says, Moshe Rabbeinu asks Hashem, Hareini no es kvodecha. I want to see you. Rambam explains, he says, I want to have such clarity as to your existence to the level of what we would call vision. As if you're just right in front of him. So Hashem answers him, you go stand by the rock, no one can see you, you stand by the rock, and there's a little hole there, Nikras Hatsur, there's a little hole there. I'll pass over, and you will see me from behind, and not from the front. What's going on? What does it mean? So why did Chazal tell us, just in case we didn't understand it? Hashem showed Moshe Rabbeinu the kesher, the knot of his tefillin shel rosh, which is behind him. Oh. What does that mean? So there's a very important principle you have to know, especially if you're going to be leaders. Very important principle. The way people view Hashem depends on the way they view themselves. Just as an example on the other side of it. Bilam, next week's parsha, not this one. Bilam comes to curse the Jews, right? Who is this Bilam? He refers to himself as Yodea das Elyon. He knows the mind of Hashem. Bilam was all the way up there. They said that he was bigger than Moshe Rabbeinu. In prophecy, wow. He is Yodea das Elyon. He knows the mind of Hashem. What did he know about the mind of Hashem? So the Gemara says, he knew that there's a split second a day that Hashem gets angry. He knew when that time would be, so that if there's anyone who wants to curse, that's when he would get it. That's when he would get it. So when Bilam sees Hashem, what does he see? Anger. He sees himself in Hashem. Listen, Hashem is the everythingness. He finds himself in Hashem. Where? Anger. Where does Moshe Rabbeinu find himself in Hashem? The Kesher Tefillin Sholosh. So the good books tell us, what is the significance of the Kesher Tefillin Sholosh? This point right here is precisely where the spine meets the brain. The brain is understanding, the spine is action. Right? The spine is what sends the messages to all over the body. Gets your arm up, it gets you to move. What was Moshe Rabbeinu all about? That point of connection. There was never a gap between what Moshe Rabbeinu knew and what Moshe Rabbeinu did. If he knew it was right, he did it. If he knew it was wrong, he didn't do it. There was never a gap. The aspect of Hashem that he saw was that to Hashem there's no difference between awareness and action. What's true is true is true, and what isn't is not. No such thing as, Hashem knows it's wrong, but it doesn't anyway. That was Moshe Rabbeinu. That is Eved Hashem. He does what's right. But that's what it's about. It's not about him. It's about the cause. The leader personality out in the world looks for a cause. It begins with being a leader, and then you find yourself a cause. You want to start a following? Now you have to decide what it's going to be about. That's the antithesis of humility. It's the antithesis of what a leader is supposed to be. It's because there's a cause that you feel has to be fought for that you're going to go ahead and get yourself a following so that you can go bring about that goal. So how do you get there? How do you get rid of personal ambition? Especially if the concept of leadership speaks to you, you probably have it in your personality. So how do you get rid of personal ambition? How do you get rid of it? It's there. How do you find it? You got to reason with yourself. This is the Torah approach, Shevin. You got to reason with yourself. If I'm using my cause as a way of promoting myself, you know what I am? I'm a clown. You got to feel it. If it's not about the cause, it's about me, then I'm a clown. Then I'm an actor. You got to get that into your head. If I believe in something and I'm willing to fight for it, great. If I'm looking for something to fight for so that I can be a leader, then basically I'm a clown. You gotta get that into yourself. Again, it's not about me. It's not ambition. It's the cause. It's something I'm willing to fight for because it has to happen. If someone else takes up the cause and does a better job, I'll be so happy. Now, this is what the Torah teaches us. I want to point out that practically speaking, this is such a necessity. Personalities get involved all the time. I have such a hard time with this. We've had guys over the years that decided that they want to go fight for the Jewish people and dedicate their lives to educate the ignorant. They take up positions in the middle of nowhere, far away from their families, a place that a practicing Jew has a hard time living. There's no real observing community nearby. The schooling for their children, from a Jewish perspective, is second rate. The pay, if any of you is considering going into outreach for pay, because you think you'll make some money there, the best way to make it in Kiruv is if you're independently wealthy. If you're lucky, you'll just make it. And not everyone is so lucky. So people are giving up what could have been a successful career. They're making sacrifices in terms of their children's education. Some of them even have to do a lot of homeschooling. They're taking on a profession that calls for lots of extra hours. You're away from your wife and kids. And you're living in the middle of nowhere. And you're working hard and you don't always see success so quickly. So they're going, this is what we call Mesiras Nefesh. They're giving up so much. They take up a position, working for somebody or working with somebody. And at one point they decide they're leaving. How come? They don't feel respected by the boss or by their partner. One second. You gave up almost everything that's important to you. You made life so difficult and impractical for yourself. You did this because you believe in working for the Jewish people. But to put up with a lack of respect from your boss, that you can't do. Where does that come from? Where does that come from? You mean it wasn't just for the sake of educating ignorant Jews. It was also to give you a position where you feel like you're a really good guy, and hopefully you're going to grow, get a better job somewhere. People will get to know who you are. The personal side is taken over. I'm not saying that if you're working with somebody, you shouldn't show them lots of respect. But for you to go and blow a real opportunity for helping people because you don't feel respected, something's not right. I don't want to judge people. I don't want to judge people. I'm sure it's very unpleasant. is worse than sending your kids to second-rate Jewish schools? Why is that more important? Why is recognition more important than your children's education? This you're willing to give up and this you're not? You gotta be honest. I'm not trying to discourage you and tell you that until you're this perfect human being, don't consider leadership. What I am saying is that personal ambition is so dangerous. It is the number one issue for people in leadership positions. Personal ambition. Beware. You gotta be humble. So they go together, both sides. It's not about you, and you see the strengths of others. You see the greatness in others. You believe in other people and you let them know that, and you really do. It's not just tact, you really believe in others. You can allow yourself to believe in other people if it's not about you. If you don't feel that there's competition, it's a joint struggle for the sake of whatever it is that you're doing for the Jewish people. Then you can work together. Yeah. That's today's message. That's humility. Any questions? We're talking the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah, let's say like both the personal ambition and like the general ambition. How do you like I guess quiet down the personal ambition and then have the general ambition?
Well, the first thing is just really in your mind, get to laugh at the personal ambition. As far as the other side is concerned, we'll have another session on your passion for what it is that you're fighting for.
Are there any good tools? Are there any good tools to know like what's really driving your ambition, like before you get to that point where you feel like someone's disrespecting you?
You have to ask yourself, if someone else is going to beat you to it, are you going to be a broken person? But my favorite example of this is Rabbi Yosef Karo wrote his Beit Yosef. In the introduction to the Ramah, Moshe Isserlish, he was doing the same thing. And he got to the marketplace and he saw they were selling a book. This was the first generation of the printing press. There was a book on the market, a Jewish book on the market. And he takes a look, it's the Beit Yosef. And he writes there, I was in the middle of writing mine, and I opened this, and I told myself, this is better than what I'm writing. So he stopped writing his, and he just wrote footnotes to the Beit Yosef instead. For someone to come along and say, this is better than mine, there's no personal ambition. Because if there's personal ambition, you can't see the greatness in someone else's work. The Gemara tells us that there's chazaka, you can assume this is true, that every professional hates everyone else in the same profession. You always find fault in the competition. The Ramah, Moshe Isserlish, I mean, he's an example of just the opposite of it.
Where she was talking about Moshe Rabbeinu not seeing the faults in anyone else. So how are you supposed to do that and help with, where does helping people grow and fall into that?
We will talk about it, but just since you brought it up, we have to put it in perspective. When we see flaws, that just takes up, that seems to be the essence of the way we view others. When you see the strengths of others and really believe in them, and then you see they've got some problems, that's secondary. Okay, they need some help, maybe I'll help them, but that's not what they're all about. This one's this is a real sucker. The perspective is always, it's not, tell me, the wise man didn't smell the dog. That wasn't what defined this scene for him. What he found was just remarkable is, wow, this smelly dog, look how white its teeth are.
Can I just add something to my question? So the Rosh Hashanah is saying that we should have our own faults like right at the forefront of our minds.
But we're busy with them all the time. We have to work on that.
Is that how we should primarily like see ourselves?
No, but you can't forget them. They have to be in your mind. What you're saying is that if that's the case, then why didn't Moshe Rabbeinu see his own greatness?
Yeah.
Because for everyone else, the flaws were secondary, and for him, the flaws were the most important. They troubled him. They were on his mind more than anything else, even though he knew his strengths.
So if someone has the stomach for it, well, it's not gonna, yeah.
Wouldn't only looking at someone's strengths lead to innocence and being naive?
No,
Because eventually
you know their flaws too, but that's
get
not
stepped on.
that's not what defines them. Don't allow yourself to define others by their faults. You define them by their strengths. And they happen to have, we all have some baggage.
She mentioned before about compromise, and that what people do is they compromise their values to appeal to the public. But what about a situation where there's a person who genuinely believes in their mission of whatever it is they want to make a positive change in, but they have to compromise to the public? Like, let's just say there's a specific issue.
That's strategy. That's okay. That's calculated, thought through. That's strategy.
So even though their handcuffs are
Yeah.
to the
It's
people,
strategy. They're not usually as handcuffed as politicians in a democratic society. Yeah.
What are the best practices to respond to one's ego? And what's the ideal, healthiest amount of ego one should have? Like when it comes to a Noah, should someone be completely mental, or is there a healthy amount of ego?
It depends how you define an ego. If what you're talking about an ego is my greatness, you should be fully aware of it. If ego means what others think of me, zero. You have to get it through your head. What others say about you is nonsense. If others say things about you that aren't true, that doesn't make you one bit greater. The same way that if someone knocks you and you know it's not true, you shouldn't be shaken. When someone praises you and you know it's not true, it should do nothing. Yeah.
Rosh Hashiva. Going back to the concept of flaws, let's say you're in competition with someone for a leadership role who is a bad faith actor, like a Moshe Rabbeinu versus Korach situation. What should you do in that case?
Yeah, you stand up for yourself, not on a personal level. I mean, almost like Moshe Rabbeinu did. But yeah, you stand up for yourself. Definitely do that. Yeah. You do have to say, I think I'll be able to serve the public in a better way.
Where do you draw the line with like personal comfort versus how much you can do for the world? Is it really horrible to want to have like a nice comfy double bed when you know you could like probably sleep on a mattress on the floor and that money could like be used for your project and like saving the world instead? Like, where's the line?
That's a different issue that we're going to get to.
Okay.
We are going to get to that. Yeah. The sacrifices you have to make on leadership.
Is there room to use your Yetzer Hara at all? And obviously, ideally, you don't want to have personal ambition, but that's using the Yetzer Hara for the good will bring you to a leadership.
I'll tell you, using your HR for good is generally the way we go about it in all areas. In leadership, it is so dangerous. In leadership, it is so dangerous. It takes over. You gotta run. You can transform your personal ambition into ambition for a cause, because that's really where it's coming from. All of our bad needles come from something good. Go to the source. What you really want to do is make a difference. You don't want to be famous, you want to make a difference. Tune into that. Because, once leadership gets personal, it's bad. It's bad. That makes for all the corrupt politicians.
Is this parallel to Lo Lishma, Bo Lishma in terms of starting off wanting?
That's what
Yeah.
we were referring to there, but you have to be very careful in leadership, that once you're in a leadership position, you cannot allow personal ambition to have any place in your life. Because it is dangerous. It's such a killer. Yeah.
And Shiva mentioned before about the Ramah and how he saw someone was doing better, but what about a slightly different situation? I know there's a story with the sheriff when he published something on Choshen Mishpat, I believe, and he brought it to the Kotzker, and Kotzker told him to burn because he said that even though it's incredible, people will learn this as opposed to learning what the Shach oil is so much. So whether it was better, maybe it was more practical for people to learn at that time, but he still, the petitioner went ahead and birthed it. But
By the way, there's a Chidush Yarim in Choshen Mishpat. You go to see it?
I've heard that there is, but I still know that there's this story. So to use it just as an example of something that is maybe
He ended up, we don't know if he rewrote it or had it reprinted. It is ingenious, but it is so long and complicated that he did not jeopardize the prominence of the Shach in studying Shulchan Aruch.
But in that situation of maybe not touch on that he was
Not hurting others.
I'm
We'll
better.
talk about that. We'll talk about it. That has nothing to do with personal ambition. The issue there is leadership when you're going to hurt somebody, and where that fits in, because that's a very tricky situation.
Whether or not it's better or worse, just that
it's
process.
very tricky, very, very tricky. The world has to suffer because I'm going to make one person hurt. We'll see. Okay.
Thank you, Yeshua.
Gotcha.